Hello and welcome to the big picture. The world has been hit by one of its biggest scandals. What has come to be known as the Panama Papers, it involves 12 current and former world leaders, including prime ministers and presidents, and their relatives and friends, 128 politicians and public officials, billionaires, celebrities, businessmen, lawyers, and sports stars, among others. The leaked files of one of so far little-known Panama-based law firm, Mossack Fonseca, has revealed information on 214,488 offshore entities linked to 14,153 clients in 200 countries and territories. This awesome lot of data is now out in the open thanks to an international investigation by an international consortium of investigative journalists comprising of 375 journalists in 76 countries. Indian Express, which was part of this consortium from India, had put 25 of its journalists on the job for the last 9 months. The Indian story reveals 500 Indians who had offshore companies and foundations and trusts. This includes names like Amitabh Bachchan, his daughter-in-law Aishwarya Rai, DLF Group's K.P.Singh and his family, Gautam Adani's brother Vinod Adani, even underworld don Iqbal Mirchi, among others. Now the question is, what does this revelation mean? What are the violations the people whose names figure in the list have indulged in? Are these violations common across the world, or are they different in different countries? How much of these are legal transactions, as some have claimed? We will discuss all this today with Joginder Singh, former Director CBI, Prof.Arun Kumar of the Center for Economic Studies and Planning, JNU, and also an expert on black money. Ajay, former Secretary, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, and Prashant, Bhushan, Advocate, Supreme Court. Welcome to all of you. Professor Arun Kumar, first, please tell us what does this whole thing mean? What does this revelation mean?
You know, what it's showing is what has been suspected for a very long time, that large number of the rich and the wealthy, those who have criminal backgrounds or non-criminal backgrounds, have been laundering their money through a variety of tax havens. There are, at the present moment, a list of about 90 tax havens, including some tax havens in the rich countries, the OECD countries, some which are small islands like the Bahamas and so on. And
this revelation talks about three tax havens.
3 tax havens.
British Virgin Islands, Panama, and one more.
Bahamas. So, Bahamas. So Bahamas. The point is, you see, what it shows is that this has been business as usual for the wealthy and for the rich and for the criminals, etc. And that's why you find, as you've listed, the names of criminals, the rich people, the wealthy people, the famous people, people from the world of football and entertainment, etc. Now, what it also shows is that there are economic aspects to the problem, there are legal aspects to the problem, there are moral aspects to the problem, and it's a very tangled web. Now, in detail, people will have to go into the detail of it, whether there's been FEMA violation in the Indian context, whether there's a earlier violation of FERA, whether it could be prosecutable now, whether under the new law on the disclosure of foreign wealth, whether there could be prosecution under that because the wealth has not been disclosed, but that will come with details. At the moment, what will happen is that all of them will deny first, because nobody will admit straight away that they are in the wrong. And that is what happened for the earlier lists also that were revealed for the HSBC list, where there were 1,100 names. But in totality, only 500 names have come. Now, second list will probably come tomorrow, where more names will come out. But this is only a tip of the iceberg. These are the people who use the FM company in the Panamas, and how that came out from the FM company, because obviously nobody provided it, so the computers must have been hacked, and those computers, when they were hacked, then all this came out. Or somebody like, for instance, the case of HSBC, where Faviani stole the data and provided the data, that would have come out. And FM was already concerned about it, because in some of the articles that have come out in the Indian Express, it is mentioned that there was worries in the FM that suppose the data leaks out, then what would happen? So in that case, we have to see where the data has come from and how that data will be analyzed by our different agencies. But it's a shame that the government did not get it, that the journalists have got it. The journalists got the earlier HSBC list, and now again the journalists have got this. Whereas the government should have been making proactive effort and to be able to get this.
And this is a problem across the world. This is not something which is only related to India.
Correct.
There are people across the world. Mr. Joginder Singh, how do you look at this this revelation which has come out.
I must congratulate the International Council of Journalists for bringing it out. Now there are differences between what the government does and what a private journalist does.
Yes.
Government has to go by its own laws. It has to go by the laws of those countries. The journalist can go and talk to anybody. Our embassy men cannot go and say, please tell us who are the fellows who have got this kind of thing here. There is a regular procedure. Maybe I think we are the slaves of the procedures, that we don't do these things here. And secondly, I think it's also the failure of foreign ministry. There is an embassy in every country. After all, is it their job only to go and shake hands and have dinner with them or invite people for dinner? They should have actually smelt. Local papers would have carried all kinds of information about them if they had only read the paper and reported back here. So the government of India would not be in an embarrassing position. As Prof.Arun Kumar has said, it's failure. I don't call it failure because they went by the procedure, by the laws of our country. A journalist doesn't have to prove his case in the court of law, whereas any government official, including a CBI or Enforcement Directorate, have to appear supported with the documents here or oral evidence, which people in journalism do not have to do that.
That's right.
They will, they will have the backing up.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Joginder Singh, that your point is well taken. We'll come back to you, Mr. Dua. How do you look at this? This is across the world. We have the biggest names in the world. Biggest names in the world of politics, presidents, and everybody's name is out.
I can't use any word other than shocking revelation.
Right.
That it was so extensive and at so many tiers of the society across the world, people were using tax havens for a variety of reasons. As the report itself talks about, it could have been for proceeds of crime. It could have been to avoid taxation. It could have been also to just stash money outside the country and using loopholes. For instance, when I talk about stashing money, people may have taken money under the liberalized remittance scheme, which started with $25,000, went up and currently is $250,000.
This is that liberalized remittance scheme came up in 2004 or 2005, right?
And a little earlier, when we had
2003, if I'm wrong. 2003.
That's right.
But this is something. These revelations go back to 40 years.
Absolutely, some of them go back to the time
1977
when we had such huge restrictions on import exports,
That's right.
foreign exchange management, etc. So sometimes the far too much regulation, controls, etc. may have given rise, but that's no justification. The fact of the matter is people have used, a number of them have gone beyond the law, a number of them have used loopholes within the law, but what is to my mind most suspicious is using a company which is in Panama, MF, just to call it,
yes,
using that which claims to provide you confidentiality, which provides you directors, beneficiary owners, which provides you shareholders, that somebody, even if under the rules it was allowed to be done, under the liberalized scheme.
Sorry to intervene. It is said that this company, this law firm, whose documents have come out, I'm sure they must have been doing a lot of legal business also.
Of course, they would have had a cover
It is a legal business. Basically, they were doing legal business. So, what are the illegalities in this?
No, the question is, they may have been covered under the laws of the territory where they are headquartered, that is Panama. There, such things may have been allowed. But it is the people who were using that law firm, knowing that it can provide you such confidentiality, it can provide you directors, it can provide you shareholders, it can also provide you, they will not reveal who is the ultimate beneficial owner. So the people my point is the people around the world who use this company in Panama probably were not just taking benefit of the liberalized scheme or the 2013 scheme which allows overseas direct investment as well.
Right.
As long as you form some subsidiary, etc. That itself makes one suspicious that all those names which are coming up, whether they are Indians or elsewhere, using this company for a purpose which was not entirely above board,
Right.
is the one which needs to be investigated. And as has been said, we may have to look at it, whether there are violations under FEMA, earlier called FERA, ED, we'll have to look at them. We'll have to look at the tax, our taxman will have to look at it, and also the violation of the RBI guidelines per se, which may not have been concretized in FERA or FEMA, etc. But there is sufficient material which has come out to my mind for a probe, on a case-by-case probe to start on each of these.
Okay. Professor Arun Kumar.
Yes.
The names, the Indian names which have come out of the
Correct.
list, many of them have been contacted. The Indian Express has the reports today. They have some of them have given their version of things. Do you think that most of the names which are there, the Indian names which are there, which have come out so far, do they have any justification?
Well, they will obviously not admit to what they've done. They will obviously say there were justifications, but as Mr. Dua has already pointed out, the suspicion comes that why use these tax havens? Why use FM as the company which provides all these services, which doesn't have an India operation, but its people fly in and fly out. They have lawyers here who are helping. So why all this secrecy? If there was nothing to hide, then you would go straight to the centers where all these actions take place. So using this secrecy, using these companies suggests that there's something more to it, which, as Mr. Dua said, we'll have to try and investigate more. The income tax authorities, the ED, the RBI, etc., will have to investigate more to find out where exactly the illegalities lay.
Sir, for instance, in the case of Amitabh Bachchan, whose name has come out, it is talking about something which happened in 1993.
Correct.
What is this? How is that? And then later it got closed. The accounts were apparently closed. So is the case with Aishwarya Rai.
So he became the managing director of 4 shipping companies where he has nothing to do with shipping. Now these are all ploys. These are all ways in which money is laundered. These are all ways in which money is transferred. So one doesn't know exactly what happened in this case because the exact details have not come out. But this is the way things are done, where shell companies are set up, money is transferred. We still don't know how much money got transferred, how much money is still there, etc. That over a period of time, what was the transfer? See, what we have got are the leaked papers at a given point of time, which are showing that these activities were done. But that doesn't give us the total flow of the income, the total flow of the funds that were going through. And why are shell companies set up? Shell companies are set up precisely because they are not going to hold the money. They're going to be used to transfer the money. So when you transfer the money, in the beginning there's zero balance, at the end there's zero balance, and the money has been transferred out. It is that which we want to catch.
My question, another question. This is a law firm.
Right.
The one from where all these documents, the FM, is a law firm.
Correct.
What is the law firm's role in all these things?
Okay, so basically what the role of not only law firms but chartered accountants firms are also there, like in Mauritius and other places, where from one building 10,000, 20,000 companies operate. President Obama also mentioned that the large number of companies are operating. The purpose of these is to provide ready-made companies. For instance, there are ready-made companies. There are also those companies which are called shell companies, post office companies, so that this money laundering business that is taking place from one haven to the next haven to the next haven, that can be enabled. Also, secrecy can be provided, and also tax rates are almost zero in most of these companies. So you don't have to pay any taxes on your capital gains, and that is how the money is attracted, that you'll have secrecy, you'll have low taxes or zero taxes, so you use us. And your criminal money or dirty money or money that you earned abroad which you're not declaring, that will not get declared.
Okay. I think we had some problems with Prashant Bhushan's line there. Prashant, you're there?
Fundamental question is...
Okay. Prashant, how do you look at this? How do you look at these entire revelations which have come out? And in the Indian context, what do you have to say?
Yes, see, the first importance of this revelation is that it shows that these companies which are created in tax havens are another major source of secreting your assets and your funds outside India. And very often the assets of these companies are then laundered and invested in India through devices, non-transparent devices like participatory notes, or even when these companies invest in India as FDI, etc., nobody comes to know who are the beneficial owners of the assets or the funds held by these companies. That is why actually in June 2014 I had written to the Prime Minister and to the Black Money SIT saying that if you want to stop, if you are serious about stopping this flow and laundering of black money, etc., at least close down the legal instruments or instruments which you have allowed legally for people to launder unaccounted or illicit money which they have which they are holding outside into India by means of participatory notes or by means of investments by these companies registered in tax havens whose beneficial owners are not disclosed. So I had said that make a law saying that no anonymous investments will be allowed in India. If you are investing through participatory notes or through companies registered in tax havens, you will have to declare the beneficial owners of the funds of these companies. And if you don't make that declaration, you won't be allowed to invest. Unfortunately, that has not been done. In this Black Money Act, which was brought by Mr. Jaitley, at least one provision has been made that people who don't make that declaration about their foreign assets, including their beneficial ownership of shares or assets in companies, etc., within the time which was prescribed, which has gone now, thereafter they would be liable to be prosecuted for undisclosed assets,
right,
etc.
Right.
Now let us see. Now this will bring up a big test of this Modi government, whether they are really serious about this, because so far they have not shown the kind of seriousness which was expected.
Okay, Prashant, whatever has been revealed today, and there will be more revelations coming in the coming days also, but whatever has been revealed today, is there any indication that any of these things have happened in the last 2 years? Because we have seen, like I was asking Prof.Arun Kumar earlier, in the case of Amitabh Bachchan, this was something which happened in 1993. In the case of Aishwarya Rai again, it happened quite some time back, sometime in 2005, and in the case of others, around 2012. So, is there any indication that this is, or you think from that we can make out that this, these were all old issues and not anything which has happened in the last couple of years or so?
No, I don't know when it happened, but it does seem that many of these companies and accounts are still active and they have assets within them. So therefore, they would clearly amount to an offence under this new act which has been brought now. That means that if you have not disclosed these assets to the income tax authorities under this act, then it amounts to an offence. And in any case, you see, these assets which are in these secret companies registered in tax havens, these are bound to be illegitimate money, because there is no reason for people to invest legitimate money in such secrecy with these secret companies and tax havens, etc.
No, well, there are a couple of lawyers who are also supposed to have accounts in these companies, and I'm sure what they will have to say. They have justified it. One of them have justified it. So anyway, I'll come to you, Prashant. Mr. Joginder saying, as Professor Arun Kumar was talking about, these are these are going to be really, really tough investigations to link to join the dots. How do you think the investigators will now have to start, and where do they start, and how do they go about it?
No. My only suggestion to the government is set up a special investigating team, preferably supervised by a high court or a Supreme Court judge, not by the executive, because they will naturally would not like their own people to be exposed here. I wouldn't name anybody here, but everybody knows them, who has got the black money, how the paupers have become millionaires and billionaires also. Maybe through bribery to the politician, maybe bribery to certain elements of politicians. SIT consisting of enforcement, income tax, CBI, income and all other agencies which are concerned. And secondly, issue them, at least issue a letter rogatory straight away. This is the information which has come, please confirm, ask the government of Panama. They may or may not give it. At least send these people a notice about the money, of course, which will appear tomorrow. Part of it is appeared today. That you have to pay so much the tax here. By itself, I think it may not be much, but we have lost a lot of money. People have taken their black money. We are on the one hand fighting with the black money. This is also the black money. It is not the white money.
Right.
Why should anybody keep money in Panama and other places also? So you have to strike it. Give it to the same job, but it should be supervised with a view to find and not with a view to cover up certain people because so-and-so is important either politically or economically or otherwise in society here. Nothing ever happens, and it should be all be time-bound and made public. You said 1993, Amitabh Bachchan, Prof.Arun Kumar said here. Where is that report? What has happened? Why does not the government tell us? She and one of the former MPs had said here he should be President of India. I mean,
that is, anyway,
how the things
anyway, that is not important. That is not relevant here. Okay, sir, I'll come to you. Mr. Dua, Mr. Dua, the finance minister today has reacted to these reports. He says that it's just a matter of time before such adventurism will prove to be extremely costly. He's talking about some G20 initiatives. He's talking about FATCA, bilateral transactions in play. By 2017, all these things will be in place, and this will become virtually impossible in future. Do you agree with that?
I'm not so optimistic. Certainly, G20, in the Brisbane meeting which they had, they agreed to share information about black money, not because they were so concerned about taxation not being paid, but because of the use of such black money in terror and other kind of misadventures. The FATCA, I think, is certainly a deterrent because the FATCA, as applicable or brought in by the United States, is talking of global income of everybody who's a taxpayer in the US or a resident of US have to be done. But my apprehension is always that a person who is got into crime tends to be a step ahead of the regulations, and there would be, the more the regulations, no offense meant to any profession, the regulators, legal people and others all also find that more controls means more business for them and more ways and means to go forward. I think the way out is deterrent punishment of a fairly high order. It may be demonstrative, but if you catch hold of 2 or 3 influential people and go after them and go the whole hog, including the judicial process, etc., expedited, that will send out a far better message than going after everybody and at the end of the day diluting the case or with a limited number of people, etc.
Okay. So Arun Kumar, my question also, you can say what you wanted to say, but my question is, you think that the existing laws in this country, the new Black Money Act, will be able to deal with any of these things?
First point I'd like to make is that there's already a Supreme Court appointed SIT where all the investigative agencies and Supreme Court judges, former judges are there. They need to come into the act. We don't need to set up another committee to that. Second point is that this FATCA, which we have signed with the US is not providing information, we are providing information. There is this fear anomaly that has come forward that US will get the information, but reciprocity is not going to be there. That's also going to be the case with the OECD. So our investigative agencies have to do a much better job than has been done. Third is the moral aspect of it. You know, those who've been implicated in all this, I think society has to take a view that those people who are being implicated in this, what view does society take? Does the government say that if government awards have been given to these people, would they withdraw those awards? Fourth aspect would be whether the laws that are there, whether they are adequate or not. There are always going to be lacuna in the law, but I think at the present, what laws we have, if they're implemented, and I think that's where the big if is, FERA was not properly implemented, FEMA was not properly implemented, and if our agencies don't do their job, then the new bill on black money abroad, that will also not get implemented. So our implementation agencies have to act on the laws that are available, and if any loopholes are found, they need to be plugged.
Okay. Prashant, very quickly, last words. You think that the SIT, which has been set up under Justice Shah, what will be the role of this SIT now? You think that, do you agree with what Professor Arun Kumar suggests?
Give it the same work to them.
So the SIT can play a significant role, provided that the officers who are assisting the SIT, which have been given to it by the government, provided they are proactive in this matter, which means that provided the government is proactive in this matter. You see, we don't have to wait for amendments in the double taxation avoidance agreements with various countries to obtain this information. The UN Convention Against Corruption provides an adequate machinery to obtain this information. It should be presumed, firstly, those who have not declared these assets and these companies, etc., in any case that has been made into an offence, those funds should be deemed to be proceeds of crime. And therefore, under the UN Convention Against Corruption, if India asks these countries for information about these bank accounts, etc., in my view, they have to provide them. We don't even need to issue letters rogatories for that. But if letters rogatories are required, they can also be issued. But these countries are under an obligation to provide India that information under the UN Convention Against Corruption.
Okay.
Because prima facie, this money would be deemed to be proceeds of crime.
Okay, I think on that note, we'll end. This is one of the biggest scandals which has hit the world, and we'll have to wait and watch how different countries will react to it, how they will proceed. There are already reports that, in countries like New Zealand, Australia, investigations have begun. We'll have to wait and watch what will be done in India. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue, The Big Picture, same time tomorrow.